lot of politics and soundbite wars going on in this town, and I understand that. I've been part of the political process. But ultimately, I think both sides are really pretty much at the same place. You know, once you get past some of the rhetoric and some of the extremes, the fact is everybody knows we've got to extend the debt limit in order to avoid that catastrophe. Everybody knows we've got to end this crazy shutdown of the federal government that's taking place, stop hurting the American people. And everybody wants to get into negotiations. I mean, what you just heard is a good example where Republicans and Democrats have to engage in the broader negotiations on the budget, on entitlements, all of the health care entitlements, on discretionary spending, and on tax reform.
But we talk about it like it's a revelation, it's an epiphany. Even these two senators who say, we agree on this, we got to get back this way. Here you are, Meet the Press, in 1996, with the last shutdown, and this is what you said then.
If there's anything we've learned over the last few months is that the policy of threats and basically holding the country hostage, whether it's on a continuing resolution or a debt ceiling, or raising these kinds of blackmail approaches to trying to get their agenda adopted, just has not worked. It's been a disaster.
17 years ago, the same thing is being said now.
David, I am really surprised that the lessons that were learned 17 years ago, that you don't shut the government down, you don't hurt the American people, that lesson obviously was not learned and it's been repeated. You don't win in this town politically by hurting the American people. And that's what we're doing. We're hurting kids, we're hurting families, we're hurting individuals that are losing their pay, not paying their mortgages. I mean, why would you allow a small minority who can't get their way to basically take out their vengeance on their fellow citizens? That's what's happened.
You're talking about House Republicans, but the president also knew that this day was coming. He also knew what the deadline was, and he appears to have made a calculation, having just been reelected, that, hey, I'm going to preserve for future presidents an ability not to negotiate over the debt ceiling, even though, as Senator Portman pointed out, previous presidents have negotiated on this. It's why we introduced the idea of having to raise the debt ceiling. Does the president bear responsibility? You are a Democrat, you worked for him, but now you're out of government, can take a step back. Does he also bear responsibility for playing around with default by pushing it this far?
Well, you know, I've been 3,000 miles from Washington. I have to tell you, the American people are angry, they're frustrated, they're mad. They think that this town has gone nuts in the way they're dealing with it, and I think both sides will bear some responsibility for that. But I think the president has also indicated he's willing to negotiate on the key issues. The Republicans want to negotiate on the key issues. For goodness sakes, that's where this ball game has to wind up. It has to wind up in the broader discussion about how do you reduce the deficit, how do you end this crazy sequester? Because the fact is we are paying a heavy price right now for what is happening to this country. America is being weakened, and that's the last thing that ought to happen. Members swear an oath to protect and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. What they're doing by the shutdown, by this on the debt limit, is weakening America and sending a message to the world that the United States can't govern. That's a lousy message for the world to hear.
When sequester was passed, before it was passed, you warned as Defense Secretary of grave consequences for America's military readiness. Right. There are some who look at that and say, that was an overstatement. That, yes, sequester cuts have hurt. But as you sit here now, out of office, out of your job as Defense Secretary, do you believe America is critically unprepared for a national security threat that can be met?
I think our readiness has been badly damaged. We've got 12 combat squadrons that have been grounded. Half of the Air Force is not combat ready. We've got ships that are not being deployed. We've got training rotations that have been canceled. We've got 800,000 federal employees that have been furloughed under sequester and that are now taking a hit on the shutdown. All of this is impacting on our readiness and our ability to be able to handle a major crisis outside of Afghanistan.
The president just launched 2 special operations here to fight terrorists. If that's the #1 goal, he seems to have been quite capable of launching that in this past week.
Look, the SEALs and their operations and our ability to use special forces in these kinds of attacks, yes. But let me tell you something. On the broader crises, such as the Middle East, we are going to be impacting on our readiness and our ability to respond to a crisis in that part of the world.
All right, Secretary Panetta, appreciate